What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 10-7 MMA show. We are back. It is Friday, 1:30 p.m. PST. For those of you guys who tune in regularly, welcome back. For those of you guys who are new or checking us out now, we do our show every Monday and Friday at 1:30 p.m. PST. So we are starting today, right now. Justin Guitar Hero James will be joining shortly. And as soon as he joins, we'll be able to chop up what's going down this weekend, a lot of other things that have been happening. You know, I made 2 videos this week about what's going down with MMA Guru. What's up, Western? Western's back in the mix. Western says, woo, okay, what's up, what's up? So I made a couple videos actually this week about the fallout and what's been happening with MMA Guru. So why don't I start talking about that first? That's something that I'm a little bit, awesome. So Western is running errors, but still here. Izzy Sloss, let's go. Welcome back. Welcome back. So I'm going to just talk about everything that's been going on with MMA Guru. I've been kind of following this entire crazy ordeal, and we'll start there. And then when Justin joins, we're going to talk about these matchups and these fights that are coming up this weekend. By the way, Justin did drop a Belal Muhammad, Ian Garry prediction video. So we're going to chat about that and his breakdown of the stylistic matchup. Izzy Slots, I'd love to know your thoughts on these matchups as well. I'm talking Dan Hooker versus Arman Tsarukyan, as well as Belal Muhammad versus Ian Garry. All right, so let's talk about MMA Guru Fallout and what's been going on with the Mighty Guru show. So for those of you guys who don't know, we have the Mighty Guru podcast, which I was a fan of and I thought was one of the best shows, honestly, on MMA on YouTube, has called it quits. And for those of you guys who maybe haven't heard the full story, the gist of it is, while the collaboration was great and they had a great dynamic, and I've talked about this in multiple videos, but MMA Guru alongside somebody else like Demetrius Johnson, a professional fighter, somebody who was at the top of the game and go to the sport, the back and forth was a really good dynamic because you have the fighter weighing in, giving the real deal analysis and breakdowns. But at the same time, because MMA Guru, even though he's not a fighter, he's very skilled in the art of breaking down fights, because I mean, the guy is smart and the guy is deeply invested in the game. He knows all the fighters, he knows all the matchups and the fight styles and how they break down, and makes great predictions. So the balance in the show was really, really good. And they had very insightful discussions and debates. And I even heard multiple times where MMA Guru would say things that Mighty Mouse hadn't thought of. He's like, oh, you're right. Oh, that's an astute observation, etc. So the dynamic was a really special dynamic, and it would make for a great show. But ultimately, Justin, if you could go somewhere, maybe just the background noise that might be a little less if possible. But hey,
I'm just walking out of the room.
Perfect. MGAL4 Productions is here. He says, Huzefa, what's up? What's up, my man? Welcome back. But yeah, anyways, it was a great show. It was a good dynamic. And the back and forth with MMA Guru's humor and then DJ laughing and cracking up, like the dynamic was good. And I'm not talking about anything in terms of the controversy or the things that MMA Guru has said. I'm just saying in terms of pure chemistry and the dynamic and the value that we as MMA fans are looking for, we were able to extract a high level of value from that show. So it is a shame that it had to end. But the reason why it ultimately ended was, I think, the things that MMA Guru has said on repeat. Justin, I'm going to mute you.
Awesome.
I'm going to mute you. So the things that he has said on repeat in terms of like other fighters, the racist comments and the things and the trashing fighters, right? It got to a point where it became unmanageable for DJ to continue to have relationships with fighters, with Team Habib and whatnot, with all of the crazy things that MMA Guru has said. Now, does MMA Guru really feel those things? Is he really racist? I know that's a question that people have asked or debated in the comments over and over. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I'm not the type of person that wants to sit here and, like, I'm going to unmute you, Justin, that wants to sit here and pass judgment to be like, oh, well, he said these things and therefore he's a crap person or he's a terrible person. I don't really operate like that. I know we have this, and people are even calling it out for potential like cancel culture. MMA Guru hasn't been canceled, just the show got canceled. Okay. But that, my point is I don't know MMA Guru, who he is as a person, as an individual. I've never met him. I you know, that it is what it is. He is who he is, but he does give, I think, very high level, very knowledgeable breakdowns. So from that perspective, I think it's a shame that we've lost this dynamic duo in mixed martial arts. Justin, let me just turn it over to you quickly, because I know you're not the biggest MMA Guru fan. I know you've heard some of his content, but not a lot. What are your thoughts on DJ breaking off from Guru? Do you think he made the right choice?
It's not really man. I can't say it's the right choice or the wrong choice, but when you ask somebody like MMA Guru, who's so strong, opinionated, to change his stance and be like, hey, maybe you can do less of this. You're asking him to change as a person. And I watched your whole video the other day. It was like a 30-minute video. I really enjoyed watching it because I don't know as much about MMA Guru as you do. But when you are asked to change yourself as a person or a personality for the better of something else, and you're just like, no, man, I just have a lot of respect for that. Because it could be easy, especially, I look at like Charlie Kirk, and I don't want to get political with it, but, he was allegedly, offered all this money to change his stance on political things. And he said, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. And I think when people stand up for their beliefs and stand up for what they believe in, whether I agree with it or not, do I like MMA Guru's stance on the, who did he say, was it Rampage Jackson was gay or something like that? I can't remember. We made a
John
whole
Jones.
series
John
of somebody
Jones.
being, or John Jones, that's right, being gay. And it's just like I think it was stupid. And regardless if it's true or
It
not
was.
true, I mean, I don't really care about the guy's you know what I mean? I don't care about the guy's personal stance, but that's just who he is. And he's being asked to change and be a little softer. And he said, absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. And regardless if I like you or don't like you, I have a lot of respect for people that stick to their guns.
Yeah, I gotta say that whole expose on John Jones, I didn't even find it funny. I thought that series was, look, man, everybody's got their own preference. I'm sure some people say some of the videos that I make are stupid, but I just thought that entire series was so dumb, and who cares? And he's obviously not gay at all, but like, I guess MMA Guru is still sticking to his, I mean, whatever. So like, yes, he has things that he does that I'm not like in the camp of everything he does is gold, right? Far from it. But I do think when he goes on the live streams and he answers questions about matchups and breakdowns and he does his impressions, and he is really funny, and he can be really, really funny and great with his impressions and different like impression scenarios. And then obviously he has his moments where he goes to the dark side. But anyways, so yeah, I'm with you. I guess you're right. It's not a right or wrong decision. I think it was just the decision that made the most sense given where they're both at. He's not going to change. It is what it is. And we shall see what happens going forward. The one thing that I did think that maybe sparked off some of the fallout was, I don't know, I feel like the Dylan Dennis getting just beat down, I think that got like that changed the momentum or the way that people started to think and take these. I don't know. I feel like there's something to that. There's a nexus there of connection. Like that was finally somebody talking so much smack, talking for years. And then boom, finally he's met and he gets kind of justice, you could say, for saying all these terrible, horrendous things. And I don't know where MMA Guru is compared to Dylan Dennis. Is the stuff that he says is worse? Is it better? I don't know. It could be worse by what some people's standards in terms of the stuff about what he's saying about Dagestani people and just going to all these crazy depths to just insult the people as a whole. So just crossing a line. I feel like that has something to do with the sea change and the current change and how people are now looking at him, because he's been saying this stuff for a long time. But anyways, Mighty Guru is done. That's that. And that's our little bit of drama in the show here that we're going to touch upon. But let's move through and let's get back to the fights. We got a bunch of comments I want to highlight, and then we're going to move on. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but your boy Izzy Slots is here. He gives his predictions for UFC Qatar. Belal by Boris. So you think of Belal, which is very interesting. I want to talk about that as well. And Hooker Arman, awesome decision. I don't know if you're saying you pick Hooker, but you're saying it's just awesome decision. But I assume you're picking Arman. We'll see. MGal4 Productions says James is king of combat. Tehran says Arnold Allen just became a member of the lightweight division. He moved up. Dude, how does Tehran always know this stuff? I don't know. I'd never even heard that before. That's amazing. That's actually very interesting. That's a tough division to walk into right now. And MGal4 Productions, Ian Headkick, Muhammad, we shall see. Belal Muhammad. MGal says, I really like Justin's opinion about the stuff. He doesn't buy him into the BS. He's just about real fighting. True. Izzy says, what does DJ get from the podcast? Just something he did for fun. I'm sure he didn't make a ton of money. Where is it worth it? Yeah, I don't know. I think they were on the cusp of making some real money. Every video, minimum 500,000 views. I mean, just in the ad rev alone, plus potential sponsorships and partnerships. But I also think that he was getting so much backlash and maybe no sponsors wanted to sign on anything with MMA Guru. So it was a combination of things. Okay, now let's go. And then MGal4 Productions has a couple other comments. Seeing Dan's clown shows kicking above the barrier was hilarious. Absolutely. All right, Justin, let's get into the mix. I'm going to jump to Belal Muhammad versus Ian Garry first. Have you had a chance to break down the Hooker versus Tsarukyan fights yet?
I haven't made the video, but I watched all my footage last night. I'll be doing that as soon as I'm done with wrestling practice.
let's talk with that. Let's talk about that fight first. Okay, that's the main event. Give us your breakdown. How do you see Hooker versus Tsarukyan going?
Man, I want Dan Hooker to win this fight so bad. I'm such a Dan Hooker fan. I love his podcast. I love his personality. I love everything about the guy. Unfortunately, I think Arman Tsarukyan's wrestling, his grappling pressure, and his pressure in the cage, and even his cage presence, is just going to be a little bit too much for Dan Hooker. I would love to see Dan Hooker throw a knee or throw a teep kick and knock Tsarukyan out as he's coming forward, whether it's a shot, whether he's trying to put him up against the cage, whatever he's trying to do. Arman Tsarukyan is going to be trying to come forward, get his hands on Dan Hooker. And I think Dan Hooker will have an opportunity to land a big shot for a finish. I just think it's unlikely.
Dude, I'm so curious about this fight. Also, too, I've been listening to a ton of Dan Hooker interviews, and what's so fascinating to me is Arman Tsarukyan is probably the most dangerous guy in the lightweight division. I mean, Ilia Topuria obviously as well, but Arman Tsarukyan, nobody wants to fight him, and Dan just does not seem phased. So he's got that bulletproof mindset of just like, hey, it's a fight. I love to fight. On top of that, he's mentioned too, he's like, fight week is great for me because this is crazy. I don't know if you heard this from another fighter. He doesn't like food, he says. He doesn't really like food. So he's like, fight week's great. All I do is I just drink coffee every day. And that's like exactly what I like to do. And the entire preparation and the weight cut is no problem. So he seems like he's in that right mental state, ready to go to war and just throw hands. How do you think that mentality serves Dan Hooker, especially when you go up against somebody this dangerous as Arman Tsarukyan?
I mean, you've said the word dangerous now a couple times, and I mean, dangerous in what? Like grinding out a decision against Dan Hooker. I don't see him beating Dan Hooker in a striking battle. I see him wrestling Dan Hooker and taking him down. I'm not saying he couldn't knock him out. I just don't see it happening. I mean, Dan Hooker's so long and lengthy, and he has such incredible striking. I don't like to use the word dangerous and guys that are looking to grind out a decision. I'm not saying Tsarukyan couldn't take him down and finish him. I just think it's unlikely. I don't see him dangerous. I guess we want to contribute danger to, oh shit, he's going to take me down and hold me down, because I just can't see him subbing Dan Hooker, and I can't see him knocking him out, but I can see him dominating him for the entirety of the fight.
Okay, and finally, that's where you see it going. You think that Arman Tsarukyan is likely. You're hoping for Dan Hooker, but you think Arman Tsarukyan is going to get the better of him on the grappling?
Yeah, I think he's going to put him up against the cage. I think he's going to take him down. I think he's going to wear on him, unfortunately. And I've been kind of wrong in my last couple picks. So I'm really hoping, I'm going with Arman Tsarukyan. I'm hoping the MMA gods hate my picks, so they give Dan Hooker. So I'm actually, trying doing some MMA voodoo over here of picking the guy that I don't want to win, so the guy I want to win wins, if that makes sense.
All right, we'll see. Izzy Slot says, I hope both Belal and Arman win boring decisions. Good for the future of the sport as UFC starts to get rid of the boring up-and-comers. Wait, so you want them to win? I wonder, so like they win and then the UFC is like, yeah, this is bad for the sport, and then they don't bring in as many boring fighters? Is that what you mean? Let me know if I hit that on the head. MGAL4 Production says, Arman has dangerous ground and pound. Look what he did to Yoel. Is that Joel? I don't know who exactly you're talking about. But and Izzy Slot says, yes, absolutely. Okay, well, that's great. Let's move on to the co-main. I mean, both of these fights this is a crazy fight night card, and it's on in the morning too. Hopefully I'll be able to catch it in the morning. What do you think about this matchup? Give us your thoughts and predictions.
Man, Belal is so cringy, man. And if you guys saw my video I came out with Belal the other day, he's just so I can't get any excitement behind him. I see his picture and I immediately have to close the tab and open up a whole new tab. I don't even like backspace. I just close the tab because I don't want his name getting in the algorithm, because it's just, I hate seeing his face. And he just came out with the most cringy interview I've ever heard, where he's like, oh, I'm going to outstrike Ian Garry, and then when I want, I'm going to take him down, and then I'm going to let him up just to let him know that I could take him down, and then I'm going to outbox him on his feet here. The demise to Belal is he had, like, all the fans, everyone hates Belal, including me. And I'm really hoping one day, like I said this in the video and I've said it on the show, like, I'm hoping he comes to the gym. I can take him to dinner or something. I can get to know him and maybe I'll turn the course. I just don't think so, because he doesn't believe the things he says are stupid. And it's even worse because he doesn't actually believe him. And he's actually would never do those things. So if Belal Muhammad is able to take Ian Garry down, there's absolutely no chance in hell he's just going to like cut him and be like, all right, I just want to let you know that I could take you down. That's the dumbest shit ever. Now, when we look at the range, Ian Garry has range. Ian Garry And Ian Garry has incredible counter striking. And now I'm trying to think of the name. There was a specific fight that I watched with Ian Garry, and I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy was landing big shots on Ian Garry, big enough to where he's getting fan reaction, big enough to where DC and the commentators are like, oh my gosh, he hurt him, and he's bloodied up. But Ian Garry's very patient. Now, when guys engage on him, he will come forward a little bit, but for the most part, he's going backwards and circling to his right. Why he's circling to the right is to get away from that big overhand right or a straight right. Well, when he stops his feet and he gets his guys to come forward, he has a beautiful straight right hand and he lands it. And the one fight I thought he was losing the striking exchanges, but he stayed patient, he stayed diligent behind that right hand. He sat back, caught the guy with the right hand, and I'm knocking him out. Man, I don't want to say the wrong name and sound like an idiot, but regardless, he ended up winning the fight by knockout. Belal is Belal is a head case. And what I mean by a head case is he's really annoyed that fans don't think he can box. So I think that's why he lost to JDM. He's like, I want to show the world that I can box. And he tried to box with a better boxer and he ended up losing. Now, when you start trying to change game plans, it's you look at like Gray Maynard, who's a great friend of mine. He's a teammate of mine. You look early in his career, he was incredible at ground and pound. He'd take guys down, beat them up. And then when he started fighting Frankie Edgar, he fell in love with his hands. He was training with a great boxing instructor at our gym, and he fell in love with his hands, and he stopped wrestling. He stopped doing ground and pound. He ended up losing fights. And I feel this is going to be Bilal's demise too, especially at 37 years old. Bilal is what he's done to get to where he's gotten, and I think he's done incredible things. I mean, as much as I hate his 18 decisions, he was a former UFC champion, and how he got to UFC contendership is he would slow fights down, he'd throw some head kicks, he'd throw some boxing, but then he'd put guys up at the fence and take them down and grind them. Now he's sick of the criticism of not being able to strike, and now he's trying to strike with people, and that's why he lost to JDM, and I think that's why he's going to lose to Ian Garry. Something that Belal does, unlike any other fighters, but one other guy, and you guessed it, it's your boy Khamzat Chimaev. When Belal shoots, he doesn't shoot in. So when you look at Bo Nickel, I talked about how Bo Nickel will throw that right hand. He'll keep his legs semi-straight, maybe squat down a little bit. He'll shoot his head to the far side, and he'll be looking for his double. And the same thing with the other. He'll throw his left hook, squat his butt down. Belal, like Khamzat, will actually drop to a knee like a traditional folk style wrestling shot to get his level even lower to get a hold of the legs. There's only a couple people in the whole UFC that do that. Khamzat's one of them. Islam does it as well. But I think that's where Belal has so much success in his wrestling, because he's not shooting at the hips. He's not shooting at the lower back. He's shooting at the legs. He's shooting at the ankles. And just like Islam, when he gets guys against the fence, he's looking to attack the ankles. He's not looking to attack the hips. He's not looking to attack the legs. I mean, don't get me wrong. He will if he needs to. But at the most part, he wants to grab the ankles and trip guys and pull them down. Belal, for Izzy Slots, Belal is plus 210. All right. At 37 years of age, I just think at a 2-1 underdog, my heart is going with Ian Garry because I think he's going to counter fight Belal the whole fight. But at a 2-1 underdog, my money's going with Belal, and I have Belal winning a boring decision.
All right, very interesting. By the way, I think the guy you're talking about for that TKO was Daniel Rodriguez. That's it
wasn't Rodriguez. He put away Rodriguez in the first round, but that's not the guy that I'm referring to.
Song Kanan.
If you said his name, I'd know it. That wasn't it either. It was a straight or straight right hand.
Jordan Williams.
It might have been Williams. If I wasn't on my phone, I could close out and load it up.
It's all good.
If I go to Tapology, I can't look it up.
No worries. Hey, by the way, look who we have in the chat. Well. The other 10-7. Let's go. Welcome to the show. I don't know if you've been on here before. Welcome. Thank you for joining.
We've talked on Instagram a bunch too, man. He's a great guy, guys. Check it out.
Oh, no way.
The 10-7. He's the alternative 10-7 MMA show. He's a great guy. He has great insight. I like the show a lot. I subscribe to the show, and I advise all of our followers or our viewers subscribe to the other 10-7 MMA show. They have a great show.
10-7 and 10-7 together. Let's go. Western says, I hate that I'm rooting for Ian Garry. Both Ian Garry and Belal have had quite a few decisions. It's very interesting. So I definitely think this will go to a decision. I thought your breakdown and analysis was great. MGal4 Production says, Huzayf, when is Chimaev going to fight Imavov? I hope in January, but we shall see. It's definitely happening on Paramount. That's for sure. It's definitely not happening this year, obviously, but I can't wait. 10-7 says, respect to you. Wait, is this real? You're going to Paul Joshua? What? No way. Okay, we got to talk about Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua at some point, but I think that was some really cool analysis. One thing that I heard Jed Meshew say today on the SBN Fighting podcast. I was listening to it this morning, and this might be exactly why you have an issue with Belal. Because I want to say I've actually changed my viewpoint on Belal. Like, I get what you're saying in terms of used to find him kind of like a little bit just you didn't want to listen to him type of thing. But the more you listen to him, I actually like him, and I think I can pinpoint the thing that bothers people, that rubs people wrong. He actually gave I'm going to make a video about this later. He gave a great little excerpt, a little quote talking about eye pokes and the Tom Aspinall situation and why he's like, dude, Tom Aspinall did exactly what he was supposed to do. And then he talked about all the trauma and trials and tribulations he had to go through with his eye pokes, multiple eye surgeries. He's like, people don't know, people don't care. He's like, Tom did the right thing. I thought that was really great. But the way that they put it is Belal Muhammad, and maybe some people disagree with this and find him really funny, but they said Belal Muhammad, at least how they interpret it, is he's a guy that wants to be funny, but it doesn't really have like the funny bone in him. And so a lot of times and when you say he's cringy, I think what you're reacting to is him trying to say things that he thinks are funny or crack jokes, and it's just not landing. Or maybe there's like a difference in sense of humor. Do you feel like I'm getting to the heart of maybe why there's a disconnect?
No, because and again, no disrespect intended, because what's so funny about saying you're going to outstrike a striker? I'm going to take him down, I'm going to let him up. It's just stupid. I just can't, like, nobody would ever do that at this high of a level. Like, this fight has title implications, and you're going to take Ian Garry, and then you talk, oh, I'm going to finish him on the feet. Like, who has finished Ian Garry? Oh, wait, nobody? Like, what? And it's plus, you don't know how to finish. You have, out of 24 wins, you have 6 finishes, like, and you're just going to go in and finish a guy that's never been finished before. And even Shavkat, who is 18-0, he has the highest percentage of finishes in the whole UFC. He has only 1 decision win. It's to Ian Garry, and all of a sudden Belal, who's a decision master, says, "Oh, I'm going to go in and outbox him and finish him." It's just, it's not funny. It's fucking stupid, and it's. Like, I don't know, like there's other fighters that are cringy too, like Henry Cejudo. But the thing with Henry Cejudo is a 2-division champion. He defended his belt. He's an Olympic level champion. Like, when Henry does it, he does it with a smile and laughs. Belal, when he does it, he's straight faced. Like, actually, one eye is bigger than the other. I'm gonna outbox him, and then I'm gonna take him down. I'm gonna let him up, and then just to show him that I'm a better. Shut the fuck up, you fucking idiot! And that's why I hate him.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we got a great.
Go on my rants. I hate that guy.
It's all good. Hey, if it's how you feel, it's how you feel. I get it. I just can't wait. I think the matchup is super, super intriguing. I'm curious to see how Belal comes out. You know, you've mentioned multiple times it's so hard to, once you get to the mountaintop and come off, and then to get back on or maintain is very difficult. So I'm curious to see what Belal pulls out. Plus, obviously, we have the age difference, and the matchup of the styles is very interesting. It's a very, very, very interesting and fun fight. Belal also claims, I don't know if it's true, that Ian Garry rejected 5 rounds and asked specifically for 3 rounds. I don't know how that's going to play into it. I don't know if that means anything.
I saw that too.
Do you believe it? Do you think it's true?
You know, I could see it being true because, you know, Belal is going to want to take Ian Garry into the later rounds. I don't think he's going to be able to get him down while he's fresh. And if he is he going to be able to hold him down? I think it's to Belal's advantage. You know, me being totally unbiased, it's the longer the fight goes. I mean, you saw Carlos Prates versus Ian Garry. I thought, you and I watched it after a fusion fight. I thought Ian Garry was fading a little bit in that 5th round, and that's where Belal does his best work. Love him or hate him, he's a great fighter in the 4th and 5th round.
All right, well, we shall see. What a great matchup. Now, we got very, 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 very exciting news. Dude, the heavyweight division, we have a savior for the heavyweight division. Oh, Izzy Slot says, yeah, smart move by Garry to do 3, not 5. Holy smokes. MGAL4 Production says, if AJ doesn't smash Jake Paul, it's rigged. Yo, I'm picking Jake Paul. We're going to talk about that later. I'm picking Jake Paul, and I don't think it's rigged. I definitely don't think it's rigged. We're going to come back to that. Okay, Salsa Boy. Okay, Waldo Cortez. Now, Justin, in case you forgot, let me just remind you and everybody, in case people forgot who Salsa Boy is and what a legend this guy is. If you remember, Salsa Boy, not too long ago, like 3 weeks ago, fought Tom Aspinall's crazy teammate, who's just a brutal fighter. Now I'm blanking on his name. Hold on one second. Salsa Boy, MMA fighter. You know what I'm talking about? He fought the kickboxer, and I'm totally going to blank on his name until I pull it up. Yeah, there we go. Ante Delia. My bad. So he fought Ante Delia. Ante Delia is, of course, boys with Tom Aspinall. Amazing fighter. And he thought he won the fight, but he had inadvertently, I think, poked Salsa Boy in the eye, and it was crazy drama because it's like, yo, you just went on a rant on Cyril Gane saying, I never poked anyone in the eye. Then you poked Salsa Boy badly in the eye, and Salsa Boy doesn't quit. He doesn't give up. He doesn't stop. He says, no, let me keep fighting, and he goes up and knocks out Ante Delia, okay? So this was huge news after all the crazy controversy surrounding Tom Aspinall's pulling or basically not refusing to continue to fight after the eye pokes. Then Salsa Boy does this. He calls out Tom Aspinall and says, see, Dana, I'll fight anywhere. I won't give up. I'm never giving up. I'm not that type of fighter. Throwing fuel on the fire for the anti-Tom sentiment that was brewing, okay? Now, if you weren't convinced that Salsa Boy is a warrior, he steps in on 72 hours notice. Okay, and I know it's heavyweight, so maybe the weight cut's not an issue. It's a different thing. But, bro, 72 hours notice after he had that brutal eye poke. I doubt his eye is already healed. Can you just talk about what does this say to you, fighter to fighter, that somebody's willing to step up on short notice after that finish, after that victory, after that injury to the eye? What does it say about Salsa Boy to you?
It says he's a true fighter, man. Regardless of that stuff, people that show up on short notice, we always say, and I did it in my career, and I showed up. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. But when the opportunity knocks, answer the door no matter what. He's not debating. He's maybe I shouldn't take this. Like I remember when they called out on Devontae Smith, and even I was briefly hesitant because I was coming off an injury. I wasn't training, but I was like, fuck it, we got to go. And the same thing Salsa Boy is doing. 72-hour notice. He's going to show up. He's going to do his thing. This is a win-win for him. He gets his name out to the public for stepping up on shorter 72-hour notice. We have podcasts like ourselves talking about him. This is free advertisement, and he has nothing to lose. I think it's a great move.
So we got, just so you guys can see this card, and it's just shaping up to get better and better. It's so crazy. But this is the featured, sorry, not the featured. This is the first fight on the main card. We got Salsa Boy, Waldo Cortez Acosta, but I always call him Salsa Boy, versus Shamil Gaziev. This fight was not getting that much hype, right? This heavyweight matchup. But now that Salsa Boy is in the mix, everybody's tuning in. Like, it's just so funny how somebody like Salsa Boy or any fighter, they can just catch that fire and just light up. I mean, if this guy gets the victory, number 6 going, and also, what a legend. He's fighting down in the rankings, Justin. It's not even like he's taking the short notice fight because it's an opportunity to move up. It's the opposite. He's actually has an opportunity if he loses here, still probably reeling from the eye injury. If he loses here, that's going to plummet him in the rankings, but he's still stepping up to take the fight. Guys, I've said it before, man. I hope Salsa Boy blows up and becomes a true star because he's just such a legend. We got that fight. We've also got Jack Hermanson, legend, OG of the sport. And then we got, look at this amazing co-main and this incredible main event. Oh my gosh, I'm very excited. And my schedule is not too busy in the morning. Luckily, I usually work on Saturdays and Sundays. So hopefully I can catch a ton of the card. Very, very exciting. Justin, I know you got to step off pretty soon, but hold on. Let's go to this last topic real quick because it also involves people are saying some things about Francis Ngannou, and that's a whole nother topic. Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua. It's happening, dog. They're having a presser tonight. Ariel Helwani, I think, is hosting it. I heard Jake Paul doing some media earlier today. He seems calm. He seems relaxed. He seems confident. He says his footwork is going to be the key to knocking out Anthony Joshua. Give us your thoughts, fighter to fighter. What's going on in your mind in regards to this fight?
I saw them square up. Anthony Joshua looks like a mountain of a man standing over Jake Paul. And I've never seen Jake Paul look intimidated in a square up. And which prompted, he goes up there, he looks up, and he starts like shrugging his shoulders, like rolling his shoulders forward. I don't know. It just looked very nervous. I think it was his nervous energy, trying to do something, not look scared. But honestly, in my first initial opinion, he looks scared. And especially if he says, "Oh, my footwork's going to win," I don't think Jake Paul has good footwork. I think he kind of labors around the ring. He has a lot of power, and I think Jake Paul's a good boxer, and he's grown on me. I am a fan of Jake Paul. But as I said in my video I made about Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, this is a win-win because win or lose, nobody can criticize him after this.
Nobody can criticize him. I mean, I have not criticized him for a long time because I look at it through a different lens and a different perspective. I'm just blown away by everything that he's done, the challenges that he's going through. People want to write off even fighting Ben Askren. You think I go in and box Ben Askren as a fan, as somebody like who enjoys to train for fun? Like, heck no, that's still a very scary, very dangerous fight. And then on top of that, then he goes and fights Tyron Woodley, Anderson Silva. You can say boxing this and that, but to fight an MMA fighter in a striking match as a fan, as a regular person, is a daunting task. Now, obviously, he's now actually turned himself into a boxer that is a better boxer than a lot of these fighters and even a lot of boxers. So it's very impressive. And I'm a fan all the way around. Go ahead, Justin.
What were you said? MMA fighters. I want to say MMA champions All right.
Right.
Love
Right.
Tyron Woodley or not, he was a former UFC champion, Anderson Silva, UFC champion, arguably one of the greatest strikers of all time. He's beaten pro boxers even in recent years after retiring from MMA. These guys were great strikers. I mean, Tyron Woodley obviously known for his wrestling, but he had a lot of power. Anderson Silva is known for his striking. I mean, love Jake Paul or hate him, he's grown on me. He's a big advocate for MMA. He's a big advocate on fighter pay. He's a big advocate on insurance. He's grown on me over the last couple of years, and I wish him nothing but success.
You know, he has said some negative things about MMA. I don't know if he's the biggest, like he said something like, hey, MMA is boring compared to boxing or something, which kind of, that was the one thing that he said that annoyed me. But I think I don't think he really means it. I think he's a fan of combat sports. I want to believe that anyways. But yeah, like I said, I'm a fan too. And this is, dude,
1 second.
this needs to just, let me mute Justin. This needs to just silence everybody, right? Like the fact that he's taking, I mean, he was going to fight Francis Ngannou. He was going to fight, now he's fighting Anthony Joshua, which in my opinion is a much more dangerous opponent in the boxing ring. And I think he was going to beat Francis. That's what I think. I think that tell me if you think I'm crazy there, but I literally think he was going to beat Francis. Dude, Francis is not a boxer. Jake Paul's been doing nothing but training with the best boxing coaching staff in the world for the last like 6 years. Am I crazy for thinking that I think he was definitely going to beat Francis?
And my initial thought is no, because Francis is so big. And I tell you what, until you stand next to Francis Ngannou, you don't understand how big this guy is. Like because our lockers are next to each other, when he's sitting down next to his locker and I walk by him and the top of his head is almost up to my nose and I'm standing up and he's sitting down, and like when you stand next to him, he's fucking thicker than I am wide. Shoulder to shoulder, from the back, from his front of his chest to his shoulders is wider than I am from shoulder to shoulder. And it's just, this guy is he's a freak human being. He's a freak athlete. It's hard for me to say anybody could beat him. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just hard for me to imagine him losing. I'm not saying he couldn't, but it's just, when you stand next to him, Jake Paul is just not that big. When Francis stood next to Anthony Joshua was a little bit taller, but Francis was so much bigger. And then to see Jake Paul stand next to Anthony Joshua, he looks like this is a true David and Goliath matchup, from a size standpoint. And I just couldn't imagine him losing to Francis Ngannou, but you never know.
Okay, I know you might have to go in a second, but let's just have fun here. What happens to our world in combat sports, to the planet, to boxing, if Jake Paul actually wins in December?
It's going to it's going to almost bum me out, because I know everyone that hates Jake
really?
Paul, it's going to bum me out in a sense to where if he wins, I feel a lot of people are going to be like, well, Anthony Joshua lost his last fight. And it's just going to be like, come on, man. This guy, like, I mean, dude, he's doing, this is a great step up in competition. Anthony Joshua has had some losses in boxing, but what he did to Francis Ngannou, nobody's ever been able to do. And I think Anthony Joshua, I really hope Jake Paul, even if he loses decision, I hope he gets the credit he deserves, because he definitely deserves it. If he beats Anthony Joshua, I think Jake Paul's going to ask for a WBO championship fight. And I think everyone's going, oh, you're not deserving. It's like, what else do you want this guy to do, man? He's beaten MMA champions. Anthony Joshua is a world-class fighter. Like, I think it's time that we give him his due respect, and I already do. But I think it's time that the whole MMA community and the boxing community does, and talk about a championship fight.
Will 100% get a championship fight. They'd be morons not to give it to him. At that point, it would be undeniable. It would make so much money for him to go up and fight whoever is the current champ. That'd be incredible, dude. If he wins, I think it'll be the coolest thing, because everybody's counting him out. All the haters, this is the one fight, his one opportunity where there's nothing left for anybody to say if he gets the win. And I want him to get the win, because I'm a fan of people doing things that are crazy, that the odds are stacked against them and they don't care, and they just walk forward unabashed with total confidence, belief in themselves, but most importantly, a diehard work ethic. He is going in there and he's putting in the work and putting in the training. Yeah, you can have self-belief and all these other things all day long, but at the end of the day, you lace up your shoes and you got to get to work, and he's getting to work. So I am fully rooting for Jake Paul. I'm not a boxing aficionado, so I don't know how crazy it is for me to even pick Jake Paul to win, but I want him to win. I will put money on him probably if I have a chance to, and I'm hoping for it. But it seems from what everybody's saying, the odds are truly stacked against him. I love it. I am so excited for this fight. It's crazy.
I actually am too, and I don't get excited for boxing fights, but I am excited for this matchup.
So, and Justin, if you got to bounce, you just let me know and I'll close out the show. But if you can stick around, you just keep hanging out as long as you want.
I do
Okay.
have to go. I'm just starting practice right now. Appreciate you
All
guys
right.
checking in. As the viewers know, I coach high school wrestling at Desert Oasis. Our practice starts at 1:30. This show is very important to me, so I want to at least get 30 minutes on the show, get some FaceTime. Appreciate all the likes, appreciate all the comments, appreciate all the views. Check out my videos on Anthony Joshua, Jake Paul. Check out my breakdown of Ian Garry. Please, guys, tell me what you think. I'm on a little bit of a cold streak right now with picks. My heart's going with Ian Garry. I want Ian Garry to win, but my pocketbook's going with Ball to win decision.
And we're going to see that. We're looking forward to that video that will drop later today as well. The final Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker pick. So, guys, make sure to tune in for that. Justin watches a lot of footage and a lot of tapes before he makes these breakdowns. So there's a lot of cool stuff. And yeah, who cares if you get the picks wrong? But it's the insights that you provide, the style matchups, those different nuances. I mean, like, that's what I geek out on. So that's what I like. So hopefully you guys like it as well. All right, Justin, enjoy the day, and we'll see you on Monday.
See you guys.
All right, take it easy. Okay. So let's close out the show with, there's a couple things that I also want to talk about. So we alluded to it earlier. Oh, wait, let's see some of these comments. Western says, thanks for the show. Tehran says, Tony Ferguson has another boxing match. Yeah, against the Mechanic. We could talk about that as well. Waldo is stepping up. And I believe in Ian, to be honest. So Western, I think you're saying that you think Ian's going to get it done. I mean, that's my general feeling. Belal just had a loss. He lost the title. He's probably reeling from that. There's a big age difference. Ian Garry is hungry. He's young. He's ready to go. He's very, very high fight IQ. He's going to make a great game plan. I just think, but it could go either way. But I do think you're right. I think Ian's going to get it done. But that's what makes this fight so great, in my humble opinion, that it's going to be a very, very interesting matchup, interesting fight, and really all about the strategy. And if it goes to decision, I'm okay with it. I really am so curious to see how this plays out. But let's get back into the mix here. I want to talk about Francis Ngannou. Now, of course, I would have liked to talk to Justin a little bit more because this is his teammate, but there's some interesting things happening with Francis right now. So he turned down that Jake Paul fight, and I was shocked by that, but then I'm not shocked because people are saying he's an idiot for doing that or this and that. I'm not going to say, those harsh words, but why did he turn that fight down? He could have made, they're saying that Anthony Joshua was making like 50 million. I heard somebody say 92. I don't know. He's making a crazy amount of money coming in short notice. So I don't understand why Francis would not want to take that fight short notice, rack up the price, and just get an amazing payday. And then especially because he was acting like he was insulted from this type of an offer, but insulted because you think you'd school him, so you could school him for all this money. So why wouldn't you? My only rationale or reason is that, not that it's an embarrassment, because Anthony Joshua is a way more decorated boxer. Anthony Joshua beat Francis Ngannou badly. He's taken the fight. But what was the reason? I said from the get-go, I think it's because Francis Ngannou, I think, could actually very easily lose that fight to Jake Paul. And I would pick Jake Paul, not from the heart, but from my mind. I would actually pick Jake Paul to beat Francis Ngannou. As much as I'm impressed with Francis as an athlete, he's an MMA fighter. Put him in an MMA cage, yeah, Francis smashes Jake Paul. So this is no disrespect. But I truly believe that Jake Paul would have, I think he would have beaten Francis. I really do. So I think that's why he turned it down. So now that comes out. He gets a little bit of heat from that. Jake Paul piles on him about that as well. Then Dana White comes out with this crazy story of Francis putting his hands on Dana White. Then other people come out supporting it and saying they're backing it up, that he was a bit aggressive and would lurk over people in the UFC office. I don't know. It seems like it has multiple sources of corroboration, so I'm inclined to believe it. And MMA Guru made a very interesting point. He did a breakdown video of it yesterday, and he said, why is this coming out now? Why didn't Dana White drop this story before? Because if this story came out before, it would have made sense when he was trashing Ngannou, but he kind of held it in the back pocket. Why? Is there a reason timing-wise? And that got me thinking as well, because this is a pretty big story and a big deal. I mean, that's assault, right? He assaulted Dana White. He committed a crime, effectively, if this is true. So why did Dana White hold on to this story until now? I think something must be brewing with Francis right now, meaning I think he's on the verge of making some big fight announcement. That's my guess. Maybe that's why he said no to Jake Paul. So I think something is about to happen, maybe in the PFL, maybe in the world of boxing. I don't know. And so maybe that's why Dana White is now starting to trash Francis Ngannou again. Like, I remember there were rumors before of him fighting, what's that one boxer's name? I'm so bad with boxers. Let me see. It's the guy who lost to Tyson Fury a couple times. former fights. Let me see. He is I want to say it begins with a D. Deontay Wilder. Yeah, there we go. I think Francis Ngannou might be coming up, and this is total speculation, okay? This is just a guess, but MMA Guru got me thinking. Maybe he's on the verge, and maybe Dana White's heard murmurings that they're about to announce Francis Ngannou versus Deontay Wilder, which is a big fight, and he wants to throw some water on that fire, put it out a little bit, dim the flames. That's one thing that I'm thinking of. I don't know if that's the case, but that could be another reason why Francis is like, nah, I'm not fighting Jake Paul. I've got another fight that I'm preparing for. I don't know. Just a guess. Tehran says, I don't believe Francis did. Okay, interesting. Dana is a known liar. Yeah, I mean, I think that as a promoter, certainly he will say things to manipulate things that are actually happening just to change public sentiment to go in a certain direction. And yeah, I also to say he's a it's a harsh I know what you're saying when you're calling him a liar. I don't know if I'd go that far to state it that bluntly, but I think all promoters, they will modify the way that they say things or maybe manipulate the truth. Obviously, maybe it is kind of lying to some extent. Yes, fine. But they'll do that. And it's kind of part of the job. It's part of building the hype of the fight, supporting the fighters, talking about the promotion in a certain way, maybe even when things aren't totally the case. So like, that doesn't make me want to call Dana White an outright liar. That's just not how I would interpret the way he carries himself and stuff. But I get what you're saying, but I don't know. Did you hear that Ant Evans or whatever came out and sort of corroborated what Dana White said? I'm curious to hear if Hunter Campbell will come out and say anything, because if Hunter Campbell comes out and says, no, that Dana's right, that did actually happen, then I think we'd have to say that this story definitely has legs. Tehran says Dana is like a scorned ex-girlfriend. Yeah, I mean, obviously he definitely is going to be rubbed the wrong way, because when Francis left, I think it could have really hurt the UFC. Now, it ended up not hurting the UFC, I think, that badly, because, yeah, he's doing anything to make Francis look bad. Yeah, I think the big risk, and when Dana White and everybody was starting to get worried, was when Francis did well against Tyson Fury in that fight. People were like, oh my God, Francis just turned the entire combat sports world on its head. That was crazy. I remember, I think Michael Bisping had like 70,000 people on his live stream or something. I remember watching his reaction, and I didn't even buy the fight because I'm like, this is going to be dumb. Tyson Fury's going to knock out Francis in round 1. And then when I started watching Bisping's live stream, and I'm like, oh my God, I should have bought this fight. This is crazy. He's actually winning. What's happening? I think that was a big snap moment for the UFC, that Francis really could have turned into the biggest combat sports star in the world, and kind of was for a moment. And that could have really hurt the UFC, because now it's like the best guy's not in the UFC. Yeah, and that's a bad look. I think Dana White loves Anthony Joshua for knocking Francis out cold, because I think that's what he wanted. And then as soon as that happened, he's like, yeah, Tyson Fury wasn't his best. Anthony Joshua, that's how it should have gone. That's how I assumed it would have gone, whatever. So trying to downplay it that way. He had the one fight in PFL, but then he's kind of not really been that active. He's had a lot of things going on in his personal life. We know the stories. I don't want to repeat them here, but he had some tragedies in his life, and two big tragedies. Maybe that's part of the reason why he hasn't been that active. But yeah, there was a point when I think it was really threatening the UFC. I think that point is past. I think a lot of the steam that was behind Francis has died down because of his inactivity. But anyways, it's interesting. So I'm wondering if that is the case, if we're about to hear of a big fight announcement for Francis Ngannou, and that's why Dana White is now stirring up crap again against Francis Ngannou. I don't know. It's interesting. It's very interesting. Tehran, let me ask you, as we start to close out the show, what do you think of Francis Ngannou? Because we've heard Dana White obviously trash him to a great extent. We know that that's happened. We know also now, outside of Dana White, we've had the PFL say some negative things about Francis, that he kind of dropped the ball when it came to PFL Africa, that he didn't show up to those 2 events. He had his reasons, but I know, like, if I were to partner with somebody on something like that, and I was going to be their main spokesperson, for sure I would be there. Like, nobody would even have to say anything I'd be there first. I'd be the first person there. You guys did this whole event around me. That's my responsibility, whether I like the card or not. So that was a bit of a strange one, but that story came out. And then we're hearing some more stories about Dana White and these interactions. And then Ant Evans saying more negative things about Francis. Like, I'm curious to know. Now, obviously, Justin trains with him. Justin's only had great positive things to say about him. I don't want to judge because I don't know the guy. I've never met him. But it is kind of interesting food for thought in terms of what's the real story about this guy. but just curious if you had any other thoughts. That's pretty much it. Let's close out on, I know somebody brought up Tony Ferguson. It was Tehran brought up Tony Ferguson fighting the Mechanic. Okay, and I see your comments, Tehran. I'm going to go back to it in a second. Yeah, Tony Ferguson is fighting the Mechanic in Misfits. Man, Misfits is kind of doing some cool things with Dylan Dennis fighting Anthony Joshua. Not Anthony Joshua. What am I saying? Anthony Taylor, Pretty Boy Taylor, or whatever. That's kind of that's a smart fight, and that's kind of a step up in competition. Now he's actually fighting a real MMA guy. Like, it's got my attention. I'm curious, and I'm curious to see if Anthony Taylor can smash Dennis. Right? Like, that'll put an end to all of Dylan Dennis's talk about him being the GOAT and the pound for pound best fighter in the world and all these things. So, like, they're doing some interesting things. I just think that for Tony Ferguson, I just don't want to see him lose ever again. That's how I feel. I think that's how most fans feel. So if the promotion believes that Tony can beat the Mechanic, which I hope so, but I'm nervous because I think that guy can actually box, even though he can't really grapple. If they truly believe that he can beat the Mechanic, I'm down. I'm just tired of seeing Tony Ferguson lose. I don't want to see it anymore. And I think as fans of Tony Ferguson, all we want is just a happy ending. That's it. We just want him to win and keep doing his thing and be happy as he closes out his career in combat sports. Or maybe it's not even close to being closed out. I don't know, but that's my 2 cents. Okay, Tehran says, I don't feel it's fair for Dana to call Francis a bad guy when you have men like Jones and McGregor. Yeah, I know MMA Guru has said things like that too. Look, everybody, nobody fits into a category of good or bad 100%. We all have moments. Even if you take the quote unquote worst people, they all have good moments. They probably all have some moments of kindness and compassion. And so when Dana is talking about this, right? Like, and I think we all do this. It's not just Dana. We talk about people relative to our experiences with them. Okay. So when Dana White is working with these other people that have done other things outside of the UFC, or like, he's not talking about them in that perspective. He's talking about his dealings and his interactions with those people, which I think is a fair way to assess and judge somebody's character. Like, the way that you've interacted with them. Is it the whole picture? Maybe not. But I think that's the way that he's doing it from. And he's like, hey, these guys have been great to work with. It's been good business, whatever. So, and I don't think he's also going out there and saying John Jones and Conor McGregor are great people all through and through. Like, I don't think he's saying that. But I get what you're saying. He's not going out there and saying they're terrible people, I guess is your point. But obviously he's got his reasons for throwing Francis under the bus, I think. So in terms of, I'm not saying they're legitimate, but I'm saying if he is on the verge of announcing a new big fight, he wants to poo-poo it a little bit. So yeah. And then Tehran says, and Dana isn't a good person either, so he has no right to judge Francis. Tehran also says, Brandon Schaub even exposed Dana for the evil person that he is. I didn't see that. Was that recent? I'd be curious to see it. Again, like I said, I try to stay out of is this person good or bad? The bifurcating, categories of like you're one or the other. I think it's just not a fair way to kind of really explain and categorize people. I think people are very complex and they have good elements to them. They have negative elements to them. And it's really weird in a public stage where so many things are just out there. Whereas for most regular people, maybe a lot of the things that we're not proud of that we do, nobody sees, nobody knows. So it's like easy for us people that aren't in the public limelight to just be like, yes, we're great people compared to them. You know what I mean? Because those other moments that maybe we wouldn't be our proudest moments aren't getting exposed. I just think we have to bear all this in mind and operate, basically dole out judgment with that good grain of salt, in my opinion. I'll just end on this. Like there are people, for example, like I live in Los Angeles, and because of the nature, how do I put it? I've gotten to know people that maybe there's a certain public perception of them. And as I've gotten to know them and interact with them on a personal level, I find that the public perception is wrong. And I think that probably happens to a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people that have been maligned in the public, and unfairly so, for like capturing or showing certain events that don't really capture that person's personality on the day-to-day basis. Maybe it captures their worst moment, but I don't think it describes that person in a whole way. So I just want to throw that out there as we conclude the show and end. Tehran says, oh, this was back in 2018. Okay, so I don't think I caught that, but maybe I'll have to check it out. If you want to send that to me, I'll take a look. Love to check it out. Anyways, that's the note, and that's the sentiment upon which I'll end the show today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We had some fun topics. Let us know your thoughts on Justin's predictions. Maybe we can scoot the show back 15 minutes early on Monday so we can have more time with Justin. I know it's shorter now, and some people have been saying, hey, we want more of Justin on the show. So obviously we can try and make some adjustments. Anyways, that's all we got for you guys today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's go UFC Qatar. What a great card. What a great fight night. Last but not least, I made 2 videos on the whole MMA Guru Mighty Mouse Fallout. So check that out if you guys have a chance. Those videos are just, doing pretty good. I mean, nothing crazy, but both over 1,000 views. So it's pretty good for us with our following right now. So we're excited. Western says bifurcated is a great word. We use it in the tree work industry to refer to a tree with co-dominant. Oh, very interesting. Okay, cool. I did not know that. Good to know. Western OG from the get-go, thank you so much for your support. And thank you everybody else, Tehran and the whole crew, for joining on today. I will see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend. Take it easy.